to talk about it. John Gambadoro, hopefully I got that right, Gambadoro, Afternoon Drive on 98.7 in Phoenix. And nobody, I've talked to you before, John. You are locked in on Arizona sports, but as we say good morning to you, John, I think we've never met a Cardinals fan before, Shasky and I, and we welcome you to the Morning Roast here in San Francisco. I don't know what a Cardinals fan is like because I've never met one.
You never met a Cardinals fan?
Never met a Cardinals fan.
I mean, it's they're not, when Seattle comes here, there's a lot of fans. When Philadelphia comes here, there's a lot of fans. You got to remember, I mean, most of the people from here that live here are not from here. No, they didn't grow up. And it was the St. Louis Cardinals, and then they moved to Arizona. Yeah. So the fan base is different. It's a good fan base. But it's different because a lot of us are transplanted that have come to move out to Arizona.
Huh. Well, let's start here with the head coach because Cliff Kingsbury is an interesting guy. They gave him a contract extension. It just feels like the relationship between him and his, hundreds of millions of dollars worth quarterback, Kyler Murray, aren't on the same page.
No, Kyler's regressed. I mean, they drafted him number 1 overall. They drafted Josh Rosen, traded him to Miami. They didn't think he was any good. They drafted Murray number 1 overall. He did some pretty amazing things, but he's regressed. He's a talented kid, very talented, incredible arm strength, great accuracy, but he just doesn't read defenses very well, guys. I mean, if the first read is not open, he's in trouble. He looks to run, he tails, and so he's taken a step back this year. You saw last week against the Rams how much better they were with Colt McCoy getting rid of the ball quickly. So Kyler's got talent, but he's got almost 60 games of starts under his belt, and he struggles to read defenses pre-snap.
John, let me ask you this then. The draft where you guys selected Kyler Murray number 1 overall. Bosa went number 2 to the 49ers.
Yeah, that was their guy. If they didn't take Murray, they would have taken Bosa.
They would have taken Bosa. Do you think Cardinal fans or people out there in Arizona, even some in the organization, wish they had selected Bosa instead of Kyler Murray?
No, you need to get a quarterback. The Cardinals have never had their own quarterback that they drafted and developed, and he turned into a good one. They had guys like Kurt Warner and Carson Palmer, where just guys, older veteran guys that have come over at the end of their career and had some success.
Jake Plummer?
The young quarterbacks that they had drafted, Jake Plummer didn't work out. Yeah. Josh Rosen didn't work out. There were some young guys. Matt Leinart they drafted didn't work out. They needed to draft a quarterback.
So you just kind of put this under the rug there at the very beginning, they played better with Colt McCoy. Are they better with Colt McCoy under center than Kyler Murray right now?
Right now, I think so.
Oh, boy.
I think I do. I really do. I think they're a better team. I mean, Kyler's struggling. He's not, and when he's not healthy, which he's not, and there's a lot of talk right now that he may not come back until after the bye. So McCoy played him 3 games last year and won 2 of them.
He did. At Levi Stadium. Yeah, Levi Stadium he won.
He beat you guys pretty good.
Yeah. No, he threw some He threw some deep passes. He was 22 of 26. It looked very good. And you know what, John? I was watching the Hard Knocks. I'm a sucker for Hard Knocks, so I've watched both episodes of the Arizona Cardinals. I get a kick out of it because it's man, this is chaotic. What the hell is going on in Glendale, Arizona? But Colt McCoy, after last week's win, kind of took a leadership role, and I did notice the players kind of rally around Colt McCoy, and that, to me, spoke volumes. Wait a minute, does McCoy have a louder voice in that locker room than Kyler Murray?
No. I mean, no, he's got a voice. I mean, Colt hasn't started for hasn't been a starter for 11 years. He's a 35-year-old backup, 35-year-old backup. The Cardinals, guys, the Cardinals need Kyler Murray to be great. You drafted him number 1 overall. You paid him, $200 and something million. They need him to be great. But he took a step back this year, and I don't know how he's going to get better. If it doesn't, he's not going anywhere. Cliff could get fired. But they're not going to get rid of Kyler Murray. They're tied to him for a while now. But Colt McCoy, right now, you're asking me today, who's a better quarterback for them today? It's Colt McCoy. He gets to the line of scrimmage. You can read the defense. Pre-snap, he knows what he's going to do. Kyler doesn't. Kyler's got a lot more talent. He throws the ball better. He runs it better. But it's not clicking for him this year.
It feels like their season's on the line tonight. This.
Yeah, of course. Every game. I mean, once they lost to Seattle, they had to go 6-2. Wow. Then they beat the Rams. Now they got to go 5-2. They can't afford to lose another game. I mean, Atlanta won yesterday. Washington won yesterday. They have to win this game to be in it. I think a loss here and then they're buried. They got the Chargers coming up, the bye, then they've got New England. So the schedule doesn't get much easier. I mean, it's going to be good teams, but yeah, they put themselves in such a hole at 3-6. They can't afford a loss here.
Why does Cliff Kingsbury play Shanahan so well? It feels like every time the Niners face off with Arizona, either Arizona just flat out kicks their butt, or it goes neck and neck till the very end. What is it about this matchup?
And I think it's because Shanahan's my opinion, I think Shanahan's just too conservative. We'll see tonight with Elijah Mitchell and Christian McCaffrey and Brandon Ayuk playing well. Like, you guys should have. That offense should be just absolutely clicking. Although you're not throwing the ball to your tight end this year, and we can't figure that out. But I think because Shanahan plays a lot of conservative football. He plays it close to the vest. Where McVay owns Cliff, and McVay, in the past, I mean, Cliff had only beaten McVay just one time, until last week.
Wow.
So McVay owns Cliff owns Shanahan, and Shanahan owns McVay. I don't know. Go figure it out.
Yeah, it is very weird. John Gambadoro, Afternoon Drive on 98.7 in Phoenix, Arizona. He's locked into Arizona sports. We could talk about the Suns for a second, but we won't do that after the Warriors got blown out last Wednesday, John. Defensively, I love Isaiah Simmons. J.J. Watt's he's a Hall of Famer. What's going on with the defense, though? Because they just can't seem to get stops. Is it Vance Joseph as a defensive coordinator not calling the right defense? What the hell is going on with the Cardinals defense?
You see, I think Vance has done a great job. The majority of the money in the Cardinals is on the offense. The vast majority of the money they put into the offense. They don't have a lot of money in that defense. You go look at that whole defensive line. I mean, J.J. Watt's playing well, but he's an older guy. They're relying on a lot of young players: Isaiah Simmons, David Collins, Myjai Sanders. The star of the defense is Budda Baker. He's as good as anybody in the league defensively. He's a great player. Jalen Thompson, great player, but. They put all their money into the offense. DeAndre Hopkins, Kyler Murray, Zach Ertz, James Conner. The money's all there. So they're relying on young players. Cameron Thomas and Myjai Sanders are their two young pass rushers that they drafted. And the two linebackers, Collins and Simmons. I think their defense has actually played pretty well, to be honest with you. I know the numbers may not back up, but they've done a pretty good job.
Now, I just watched that Seattle game where they needed stops at crucial times, and Seattle either ran the ball down their throats with Kenneth Walker III, or they hit the tight ends, Noah Fant for a big play. Just situational football just doesn't seem to be there for that Cardinals defense.
No, but if you go back and you look at it, I mean, they held the Raiders to 23 points. They held the Rams to 20. They held the Eagles to 20. They held Seattle to 19. So they had a run where they were playing pretty well, and then. The offense puts them in a lot of holes, guys. I mean, the field position, some of the turnovers. Sometimes the offense puts them in a really bad spot. Now, they may give up 12, 13-play drives to 60 yards. It's not a great defense, but I think and I understand, when people say, the Cardinals defense isn't that good. When you look at the numbers, sometimes it's not. But the first game against Kansas City, they got railroaded, and a lot of those numbers has to do with the fact that Kansas City just broke out a can of whoop-ass on them, but they had like 500 yards of offense and 33 first downs, and so they've been trying to catch up to those numbers ever since the first game against the Chiefs when the Chiefs put 44 on them.
Yeah, well, the Chiefs did the same thing to the Niners and destroyed all their defensive staff.
It up your numbers because honestly, the Cardinals defense is not bad. It's not great, but it's not a bad defense.
They do have playmakers. I like some of their personnel.
What's your thoughts, or what is a Cardinals fan's thoughts of Jimmy Garoppolo?
I think we always felt going in that the 49ers would have been better with Garoppolo than Lance. I think here the feeling was, I hope Lance plays because he's just young and he's inexperienced and maybe talented, but it may not. Like the 49ers have a Super Bowl. I predicted the 49ers would win the division. I think that they've got a Super Bowl team.
Okay.
But when you put a young quarterback with not a lot of experience out there, that could derail the whole thing. So we kind of always felt that they were better with Jimmy Garoppolo. But I guess the feeling is with Garoppolo is like, how far can he take you? But he's taking you to a Super Bowl. I don't know. I think Indianapolis, somebody would have grabbed him if he would have been available. Somebody would have grabbed him. He'd be a starting quarterback somewhere. So I think he's a starting quarterback in this league. I think he's good. If you have a great defense and a running game, I think he can win you a Super Bowl.
So the feeling on Shanahan out there, though, I want to get back to that one. Do Cardinal fans feel like Shanahan's a bit overrated due to the ownage by Cliff Kingsbury?
No. There's a lot of respect for the 49ers. They're a well-coached team. They're a good team. Great defense. I mean, now that you're seeing Brandon Ayuk start to play well, and then with the McCaffrey trade, you guys are all in, and Elijah Mitchell coming back, and You do have a great tight end. You just, the Cardinals have always struggled against tight ends. So when you look at the tight end numbers and you see that, your Kittle's not getting it a whole lot, you kind of worry. But you guys have had some pretty big injuries too this year, haven't you?
No doubt. Trey Lance, Eric Armstead, Trent Williams. I mean, the list goes. Jimmy Ward. The list goes on and on.
Those two guards are really good. Like, they haven't given up a sack this year.
Yeah, Burford and a rookie in Burford and Aaron Banks, second-year player, which is a shocker because that was the biggest question mark going into the season. And the biggest question now is Mike McGlinchey at right tackle. If I was the Cardinals, just line up J.J. Watt over there, have Simmons blitz on that side. It just
don't give them the secret sauce.
They know. They watch film. John, let me
Humphries is out. Justin Pugh is out. Rodney Hudson's out. Last week, they started one starter on the offensive line. One starter. They had 4 backups in. I mean, this team has been decimated by injuries.
Let me ask you this, and before we let you go, John, we do appreciate your time. You got a lot. Yeah, we love you. Who's the Cardinals' biggest rival in the NFC West? Is it the Niners? Is it the Hawks? Is it the Rams? Because the Niners and Cardinals have great games in the past. Cardinals and Seahawks have had great games in the past. And I know the Rams have had your number, but I'm curious because it feels like the Cardinals up here, and I don't want to sound like I'm an elitist or anything like that, but it feels like they're the Padres of the NFC West. Yeah, an afterthought.
Yeah, you remember when they were in the NFC East? I do. The Giants were rivals with the Cowboys, and the Cowboys with the Eagles, and the Eagles in Washington, and the Cardinals were when they were in the NFC East, the Cardinals didn't have a rival. I would say Seattle. Because a lot of Seattle fans come here when they play, and Seattle's been, with Pete Carroll, they've been a perennial playoff team every year. So as much as the fans here hate L.A., and they hate the Dodgers, and they hate the Rams, and they hate the Lakers, and I think their biggest football rivalry is Seattle.
Interesting, man. Well, enjoy the game tonight. Mexico City should be a good one, man. Kingsbury, Shanahan, Garoppolo, Colt McCoy. These two teams always battle. They always battle.
You don't want to talk about the Suns kicking the Warriors' ass again?
You know what? It may have woke the Warriors up. But let me just say, it may have woke the Warriors up. They won 2 in a row since then. Played a little defense. And Klay Thompson has erupted. It was an embarrassing loss last week, though. No 3 rotation players not playing. They get blown out by the Suns. It did bother me. John. I'm not going to lie.
No Chris Paul, no Landry Shamet, no Cam Johnson. Woo, telling you.
Why don't you meet us in the playoffs before you puff your chest out?
Yeah, I was hoping to see you in the Western Conference Finals, man, but we know what happened in Game 7.
Yeah, I think that was a great win last year by Golden State, but I don't think they'll be able to do it this year. Weissman didn't develop. That bench is terrible. They got rid of all their key bench guys. I just don't think they'll have the depth.
We'll see, John.
We'll have him on again.
We're going to have you on again. We'll have you on. When the Suns come visit Chase Center, we'll have you back on.
January.
All right, I'm in. Give me a call.
Yeah, John Gambadoro, man. Thanks for the time, man. Afternoon Drive on 98.7 in Phoenix. Nobody more locked in on Arizona sports than him. He's